Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome on this Lord's Day as we gather together around God's Word. Today we want to talk about the first reading, Paul's words in Philippians chapter 3 and following. I would like to talk on verse 17. We read, "Join in imitating me," Paul says, "and keep your eyes on those who walk according to the example you have in us." The Apostle Paul is encouraging his hearers and us to look around at others very closely and look at the way they live their lives as Paul is living his life. Paul lived like a mighty oak tree whose roots were deep into Jesus and his saving work for us. Earlier in this same chapter, the Apostle Paul lets us know how he lived before he became a believer in Jesus. He tells us that he was a Hebrew among Hebrews, a Pharisee, lived according to the law, persecuted Christians. Paul was under the delusion that by doing all of this, he was getting a big A+ when it came to his relationship with God, being accepted in God's sight. Whereas in reality, he was really getting a D, E, F in God's sight. Because he was born with a sinful nature and couldn't measure up to God's standard of perfection. Therefore, Paul said early in this chapter, he considered everything that he had done to earn God's acceptance as rubbish. Rather, he looked at Jesus' saving work in faith to establish his relationship with God. Boys and girls, the Apostle Paul would have us think about our efforts in trying to measure up to God's standard of perfection. When it comes to it, because we, like Paul, were born with a sinful nature, we fall short of his standard of perfection. So Paul would have us take the times that we showed love and wrinkle it up and treat it as rubbish. Throw it in the garbage. Or the times that we forgive others, throw it in the garbage. Not bad. Or the times that we show others being kind and nice and throwing that in the garbage, getting rid of it. Or the times that we are helpful and I missed. But the whole point is, because we're sinful by nature, no matter how much we love, forgive, are kind and helpful to others, we will never measure up to God's standard. That is why, like Paul, we are thankful to God for Jesus and his saving work. And to show our thanks, we want to show his love His forgiveness, His kindness, being nice, being helpful to others. It is my hope and prayer that we will reflect Jesus' love, His kindness, His forgiveness, His niceness, and His helpfulness to others, so that God's name will be glorified and others richly blessed.